Dave Molyneux. How are you, my friend?
Eric Anthony. I'm very well, thank you, sir.
Happy to be here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of the Omniverse Comics Guy podcast. If you're watching via Twitch live, thank you for being here with us. We're always happy for the company. On YouTube, afterwards in the future, you're watching us on YouTube or on whatever podcast platform you enjoy using. Hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. Let us know what you like about the show, and let us know what we could do better. If my lighting could be a bit better, if Dave could center his microphone a little bit more.
Makeup.
You let us know, and we'll make better stuff talking about things that we like. And of course, most importantly, OmniverseComics.guide is the one-stop shop for everything Omniverse Comics related.
It's all there. Oh, and also, big thank you to everyone who's been shouting about last week's episode all over the socials, which is just brilliant. It's really nice to have people do that. If you do watch the show and like it, please feel free. We're not going to stop you from shouting about it. It really helps. It just brings people to it, and it makes us feel encouraged.
Thank you, guys. It lets us know it's not going into a void. Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Because sometimes, I've podcasted for quite a long time, and there were moments where I'm like, nobody's listening. Hello. Right? But yeah, with all the folks on Discord and the people who tune in on the live, and then you got people after the fact. So thank you, everybody. We're gonna keep going.
Yes, we are.
What did we do last week? Was it an incoming?
That was the fights.
The fights. Yeah. That was one of the most fun. Yes, yeah. The fights.
Do you know what happened though? Following that episode, I thought of loads.
Me too. Me too. Everyone's list is the right answer.
Apart from
just
Kev,
like today.
He's got a terrible list. Have you seen Kev's list?
What was that?
I don't know who that is. I'm just making it up.
Yeah, Kev, step up your game.
Jesus, horrible. Kev, we told you.
You said fight scenes, not dance scenes. Speaking of, potential fight scenes, I mentioned a couple of this character's fights in the last episode, and that is, this week was your idea to do a Superman-centric, which clearly I'm happy about.
And I'm bringing on the bad guys.
Perfect.
So we kind of work.
We're doing it. Yeah, we got the theme going. For me, Superman is like the reason I got into comics as a kid. This toy I brought with me for the show. This was my first toy that I remember playing with as a child.
Look at him go!
Yeah, this would be.
Where you off to, Clark?
This would be a possible totem if I was in like the Inception movie. I got to know if it's dreaming or not. The toy would probably be an option for me.
Can you send him off to the shops? Just make him like.
Yeah, see if his arms going that direction, right?
I'm gonna get some milk, some tea bags.
I would probably have brought him with me as a kid. When my dad would take me to buy a comic, it was probably on the ride with me. So I don't know about you, I feel Superman gets a bad rap for not having a good rogues gallery.
Do you think he doesn't have a good rogues gallery, or people don't give his rogues gallery enough credit?
That one.
Right. Yeah, me too.
I think he's got a really good rogues gallery. I'd be hard-pressed to think of another character, and I know you'll probably come up with one, but another popular character who has well-known villains, more than Batman, Spider-Man, Flash. Name a fourth superhero whose villains you can name 5 of them.
Hulk. I don't know.
But even with, because the Marvel villains oftentimes are interchangeable, right? Everyone kind of fights each other's villains. They do kind of
cross around. Yeah, they fight around.
But with Batman and Spider-Man, those are the two characters where it's like very much, these are your guys.
Yeah.
This is one of yours. I'm sure you could, off the top of your head, without even being a Superman fan, you could name 5.
I can name 5, yeah. Well, the funny thing as well is, one of the things we were talking about last week was that whole who's the most powerful conversation. And weirdly, the thing with Superman that always kind of bothered me when I didn't like Superman for 4 decades, essentially, was that he's too powerful. So that's why I never really got that whole thing of like, who's the most powerful person, and what does it matter? Because then people always go, I don't like Superman. Why? He's too powerful. So why do you want to know who the most powerful? Surely that means he's the most boring, and that's what people think. He's boring because he's too good and he's too powerful. But that's the smart thing. Like, this is how storytelling works, is you devise villains that work around his power set, you know, and that's what they've had to do over the years, and that's what makes those characters interesting. It's not necessarily always about someone being a bit stronger, or, you know, there's other ways to clash with Superman.
And I think any character really works when what's around them has you invested as much as the star.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what you can come up with. I have reserves because I'm a lifelong Superman reader, so I'm like, is that really a good one? I mean, I like it, but it's kind of dumb.
No, the thing is, if you like it, you like it. This is what we're doing, right? So I think you should go for it. And I think you'll know way more than me because it's so fresh to me. I haven't read anywhere near as much Superman as you have. I think you'll have better examples. So I'm going to come away from this wanting to buy more books.
Yeah.
Do you want to start as the Superman guy?
No,
you're clearly dressed the part.
No. You start, because I'm going to have reserves. So if there's something that we've both read, I can switch it up.
Okay. All right.
You take it away.
Sweet. Thank you.
No problem.
So
and you let me go first last week.
Did I? I don't remember. God, my memory sucks. While this is something we've referred to lately, we tended to, I think, refer to the initial part of this story, which is the Doomsday part of the story, and that's the thing that I think most people have read. A lot of people picked up the Death of Superman issue in the 90s. I think it was like one of the biggest selling single issues. I'm not talking about that today. What I'm talking about is, and I had to write something, that this book is heavy. I learnt nothing from last week, but basically they're not even necessarily the greatest comics of all time, but we're talking about their villains. What it gave me was one of my favorite villains, which is Cyborg Superman. I've got a real soft spot for Cyborg Superman. They did a Mafex figure of Cyborg Superman recently, and it's like 250 quid. It's a lot of money, but oh my god, did I want it. It just looks so cool, and I've got love that
I think
look.
the Sinestro Corps Cyborg.
Have you?
Yeah,
really?
I gotta go into my boxes. It's so shameful that it's like, I think I do, but I definitely have a Cyborg.
Do you?
Superman. Yeah, I do.
Love it.
I did this whole thing where in my mind I was gonna finally have the ultimate superhero toy battle. Oh, right. And I was an adult at this time. I had finally gotten.
You were an adult. You're not now.
Like, I was an adult. I was full grown when I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get all of the Justice League and all of the villains, and I had like 2 shelves of just these, you know. And sometimes I would pose them in a fight scene. It was ridiculous, but fun. So I have every DC villain people can name off the top of their head that you would expect to see there, and every superhero. Yeah,
jeez,
gotta go into my boxes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have a little bit of the toy thing.
Oh, we'll have to get into that in another episode, actually.
Yes, that'd be good.
I do actually, funnily enough. So,
is that Superboy Prime?
No, at the end of this story, basically, this is the end of this event. It's the big showdown. So there's been the 4 Supermen that replaced the deceased Superman, who was Superboy, Steel, help me, Eradicator. I couldn't remember his name. And Cyborg Superman. So this kind of they whittled it down. Basically, the original Superman's come back, and Cyborg Superman is kind of a pretty major villain by this point. And he also teams up with Mongol, but I'm not going to go into him yet. But I do, funny enough, in a few years ago when my eldest was quite small, and she had that moment which I've mentioned before on an episode where she first saw Batman. I think it was the Batman Starter Kit episode, and she saw him in the Lego Movie. And the moment he came on screen, she just went, oh! And then I was thinking, okay, I've got to get her some Batman stuff. There's Imaginext, a series of toys for small kids made by Fisher Price.
Mongol.
So this is literally a kid-friendly Mongol. And we have...
I don't think I have a Mongol.
A Cyborg Superman.
Hey, that's awesome.
So basically you can teach your preschool child how to reenact the massacre of Coast City.
You know, I think I'm going to say this a lot in this episode. I think certain eras of Superman comics are grossly underrated because that was a major event and it lasted. It was something that happened in a Superman storyline that affected Jeff Johns' run on Green Lantern.
Yes,
the
well, of
whole
course. Yeah, you're right.
right, like it didn't. It's not something that just happened and they're like, "Huh."
Yeah.
No, this affected the DC universe. It affected Hal Jordan forever.
It probably affected Hal Jordan more than it affected Superman
Hundred
in that way.
percent
So it's a big story. Like, it's a really major, and it's
huge.
so unexpected because it's almost like that Green Lantern issue is kind of a tie-in. So it's
Yes,
almost, I don't remember if it's 100% remember if it's optional or not. I don't think it is. I think you still have to read it as part of that saga, but it's like it is essentially a tie-in to the main story, which is in the Superman books, and it's like it massively impacts him
huge.
going forward. So it's
It
a major
changes DC
tale.
history.
Yeah,
It,
completely.
it's not hyperbole to say that that moment in a Superman storyline changes DC Comics history on a cosmic level. Like Green Lantern loses his shit, becomes Parallax, and you get Kyle Rayner out of
Yeah,
this
you do. Yeah,
ultimately,
yeah,
right? And he's in the Green Lantern, sorry, he's in the Justice League for the next
yeah.
bunch of years. You don't have Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan's a
It's a
villain.
long time.
Yeah.
It's more than 10 years.
It's like, yeah, it's a decade plus
Yeah.
of Coast City recovering from this moment.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, this is a great pick.
Thank you.
And
But Cyborg Superman went through a phase with this red armor.
yeah, yeah.
But like,
I
no,
think
he's got to look like Superman. When he's just like a
yeah.
cyborg, I don't see the point.
No,
He's got to look like Superman. That's what makes him so creepy.
it's offensive.
Yeah.
It's like an obvious, like, I'm doing this to offend you. I'm doing this in your name. I
Yeah.
want people to see part of you as this. I want to be afraid of your visage, your symbol. Yeah, it's true. It's a great villain. Yeah, it's a great pick.
Thank you.
Terrifying story when you look
Yeah.
back on it.
Well, he's someone that really did. Again, he challenged Superman in a major way. Superman failed. What do you got?
I'm going to the villain I'm going to talk about is Ruin. Have you ever heard of Ruin?
Ruin? No. I don't think so.
I don't think he's been a reoccurring character since then. I'm almost certain of it, and the reason why I'm not going to say because it'll spoil the story for you.
No. Let's talk about it. You can tell me. I'll forget by the time I get to it. I'm on 2000.
I don't want to tell you who it is.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it a
That's
reveal?
why. It's a reveal.
Oh, okay.
And it's it's one where if you're a longtime reader of Superman,
Yeah.
for me anyways, it mattered.
Okay.
I was like, oh wow, okay.
Oh,
Like
man.
this is good. This is something, and it's majority of it is written by during this time. It goes back and forth with a few writers, but Greg Rucka
Oh, really?
was writing Superman at this time. And it goes back and forth with some Jeff Johns issues. I think Gail Simone steps in here or there.
Oh,
But for the most part, there's a little chunk of time where Greg Rucka tells the story of Ruin. And what I like about it is, like you said before, a lot of the Superman around the Daily Planet, his personal life, his marriage. You do get your villain of the week at times.
Yeah.
But peppered throughout it is this storyline with this villain named Ruin. And for quite a bit of time, about maybe a year's worth of comics, I would say, maybe more. You don't know who it is, but he's really getting the best of Superman.
He's Superman's Hobgoblin.
He's essentially, that's a good way to compare it.
So
Yeah,
where are the Ruin issues?
So here, these are the trades I should have showed you. This is, his unconventional warfare.
Ooh,
You
I
got
like that cover.
Rucka, illustrated by Matthew Clark, Renato Guedes, and Paul Pelletier. This collected Adventures of Superman 625 to 632, and then Secret Files 2004. So a good chunk of issues. You don't see it here, but it's got quite a bit of story.
I like Secret Files issues. I don't know what it is about it, but I really like DC doing those Secret Files books. No idea
they're
why.
fun.
They're just kind of fun. There's a story, and then you get a load of profiles. It's cool. I like them.
Yeah.
So is that then following that one?
And then there's this one here, that Healing Touch, and then you got this one, Ruin Revealed. That's the key bits of it. And then you get an interruption, I think just a little before this, just a little bit, maybe a year maybe not even that far before, it was Superman written by Chuck Austin, drawn by Ivan Reis.
Oh,
and it was
I'd be so torn.
Yeah, it's worth reading.
Really?
Because it's a GOG story. Yeah, it's weird, but
It's Chuck Austin.
I remember really enjoying it when I read it, but Superman was written with a little more edge than I was like, why is he so snarky? This is like a very this is very 2000 Superman. But regardless, it was a GOG story, Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
GOG, right? So you're like, oh, this guy's got his number. So it was 2 trades. It was a 12 issue, maybe more, worth of storytelling with GOG. And then it goes into this Greg Rucka stuff. So I was reading all of whatever I could get my hands on in and around that time.
Wow.
And
okay.
it was fun. I enjoyed it. I got to reread it again, but it was Ruin is not someone you hear a lot of, but I do remember feeling like, oh man, that goes right back to my childhood type of review.
Okay.
I want to try to give that 2000 stuff another run, the Jeff Loeb era.
It's fun. There's some fun stuff in it.
It is fun, and then there's just some stuff that's just like, oh man, this isn't the best.
Oh, really? Well, weirdly, I thought the Mark Miller issues are not the best. The Jeff Loeb stuff seems to be better.
Yeah, no, there's chunks of it that's like, this is really fun.
Mark Schultz? Was it Mark Schultz? His stuff is the best stuff.
Yes, yeah.
And I'd not heard of him before.
Yeah, it was funny how they were doing that sort of, you got to read this one, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And everybody was a different writer, but Mark Schultz his stuff was good. I haven't read much Chuck Austin other than that Superman stuff. And I haven't gotten rid of them after all these years. They're one of my earliest trades when I got back into comics. And it was off of a recommendation of a friend. He says, that's a really good story. I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. I liked it, but I'll probably look back and like, this is shit.
You never know.
But
Joe, what? He might be good. I think he got into Marvel because he was friends with Joe Quesada. So I don't know how he got into DC, because that was a period when I think Quesada and DC weren't really gelling. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
It's worth the shot. It's worth the shot, and I'm really keen to read it.
Art.
I'm
always a fan of that. So
yeah,
I'm a sucker for him drawing Superman, especially.
Yes.
But
okay,
you're number 2.
I'm going to take another 2. I mean, this is the eye roll moment. I love Lex Luthor. Luthor. I think he is actually one of my favorite comic characters. So, ideally, I wasn't even going to mention Lex Luthor because it's so obvious. But even then, you're going like, okay, what story would I even choose if I chose a Lex Luthor story? I'm going to go with this because it's such a different take on Lex Luthor. So this is actually book 2 of the Rebirth era run of Superman, and it's when Lex Luthor is essentially the other Superman of Metropolis.
That's the Action Comic stuff.
That's the Action Comic stuff. So that's the Dan Jurgens.
Omnibus that. They gotta omnibus that.
They should, but they also need to collect all the issues when they do it.
Yeah, but that one, the Pete Tomasi, Pat Gleason stuff, deserving.
Yes.
That needs to be. It was good stuff.
That was
good. Fun.
Yeah,
it was really good comics.
And look. It's an Imaginext version of Super Lex.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
I love Lex Luthor. I think he's a fantastic character. Obviously, it all depends on who's writing any character at any given time. But the thing where he doesn't see himself as a villain, even though he clearly is, he is a nasty piece of shit. And I love him for it. But it's that superiority complex he's got. So he was the greatest person in town until Superman.
That's the problem. That's what makes them the villain, is that I need them to acknowledge me. I need to get the credit, because a lot of this, he's kind of on the intellectual level. You're not wrong. Like, what you're saying, you're not wrong. Like, you're smart. Like, you're clearly smart.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about, and you are the futurist of the DC universe. But I think that's why they modeled the Lex Luthor from the John Byrne era. I think, if I remember correctly, they modeled it off Donald Trump.
They did, yeah.
Straight off.
Yeah, they did.
And it kind of makes sense for that time, right? Like, this guy just needs everything to have his name on it.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's pure envy with pure evil, but him seemingly not realizing, even though that he is literally trying to organize this man's death. But he's saying we shouldn't be so reliant on this alien. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like you say, he's not wrong. But it's that pure ego. But what I love about this era, and kind of, I was going to actually pick Forever Evil as well, because it's that tipping point for Lex Luthor, where he's, in a way, he's the good guy. He's suddenly the good guy. I mean, after Forever Evil, he joins the Justice League, and as a member of the Justice League, he gains the ability to, he goes on that, he's part of the Dark Side War, which will lead to him having the Super Lex costume and everything. I just love it. I love that he's in that arena, because you're waiting for him to make the wrong decision. And actually, that goes on for some time. It's not an immediate thing. It's not like he joins the Justice League for 6 issues. Like, no, he sticks around for a while.
He's around.
And then this happens.
Yeah, and in Rebirth, he's still playing that Superman. He's not going about it like Cyborg. He's actually saying, like, giving this a fair shot.
Yeah.
Almost like Superior Superman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in many ways, maybe that was an influence. So, I mean, ordinarily, he's trying to prove himself to be... He's outsmarting him. On that level, he's almost as powerful as him, so he can do the things that Superman can do. So it is kind of the superior Superman. You're absolutely right. I hadn't thought of it that way.
I just realized that now. But in this case, like, they're teaming up, and it's almost, you don't do that. That's just it's a faux pas. That's what they're supposed to be, villains, arch nemesis. They don't do team ups. You're running out of ideas. Yeah. Like, some people would say that, but no, this was good stuff. And it was good. It was good time. It was good time.
As excited to kind of end that era, as excited as I was by the idea of the Legion of Doom being in the comics, when they actually did it, and it was the Snyder run, it was terrible. And they kind of just put Lex Luthor back to being a bad guy again, and it just really simplified it. It's like it was such a cut off with no warning. It wasn't a logical step. Whereas this had been going for a while, and it was much more interesting to watch him be this way, even if he stopped and he fell and then he made that big mistake. But they didn't play it that way. So in terms of concentrating on the better stuff, that for me is a great Lex Luthor period. So through Action Comics, but you could jump back to Forever Evil, the big New 52 event, and go from there as he joins the Justice League. It's a great era to watch that character, because you know as a reader, he's the bad guy.
Yeah, he's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a synonymous name with the boss you hate, the psycho. Yeah. That you don't, the psycho scientist. So let me ask you a question. Do you like him as the mad scientist, or do you like him as the corporate Bruce Wayne level?
Corporate.
Yeah, because he's still a scientist in those moments.
He's still a scientist.
I like the combination.
Yeah, and it's the thing, you can kind of, I think it's easier to dislike someone on that corporate level, because you can villainize people who are rich.
Yeah,
much more easily.
Yeah, and you can see, oh, that's how business has to be done sometimes, and the art often represents real life, right? Yeah. So you know that guy. But then add to the fact that he's extremely intelligent. Like, yeah, we know those guys in the real world, right? Yeah. A lot of people don't like them.
No, they don't. And it's funny as well, because you think of those moments with him as well, and there are levels of things that you watch him. And I don't want to spoil anything here, because this is going further back. But even the whole story arc in the 2000s, late 90s and stuff, where he had his kid, and that storyline, and you're going, how do you not look at yourself and realize what a bastard you are?
He knows.
He doesn't. He's doing what he thinks needs to be done.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
This is what has to be done. You don't realize it. Shut up.
Yeah.
I'm smarter than you. I can't deal with people like you.
I'm just right.
Yeah. And I'll kill you if you disagree.
Yeah, exactly. Because you need to be gone.
Yeah. I'm Lex Luthor. Top five villain in pop culture.
I'd put him in my top 3.
Yeah.
He's that
Lex
good.
Luthor's up there.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this choice up to you. Should I go 90s or 2000s? You pick a decade.
Oh, 90s.
All right. This is another childhood favorite with a top tier Superman villain. It was one of those early trade paperbacks you could buy.
Right.
Weren't many. This is Brainiac. Panic in the
Thank
Sky.
you so much for doing Brainiac.
I had a couple Brainiac.
Oh.
So that's why I said, tell me 2000s or there's a nice trade.
I love Brainiac. I love Brainiac so much.
This is a really fun 90s Superman story that it's an event. All the Justice League is in this. They're all teaming up it's a preemptive strike. I don't know if no, I don't think Operation Galactic Storm was like that, but Dan Jurgens had said, Superman always is reactive. We wanted to make him be smarter. We didn't want him to always have to stop the train because it was falling. Let's make sure the track's working, sort of thing. So you see an alien invasion coming, you go to it. You don't let it come to Earth. You stop it before it even gets here. And it's a really fun story that bounces through all the 4 titles. Again, this is during the Triangle era.
Is it just the 4 titles, or does it jump into Justice League as well?
No Justice League.
Right.
You got Shazam making appearances. You've got the Matrix Supergirl.
Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner's in it, of course.
I love Guy Gardner.
Got Mon-El there. Wally West. Deathstroke. They brought everyone that they thought could stop this attack. They made a team of let's get the strongest. Wonder Woman is here. You got the Australian Lex Luthor hanging around because Supergirl is dating him.
Oh,
Matrix Supergirl.
I was confused because I've read chunks from that era, and I have read Panic in the Sky, but it was during my I don't really want to read Superman, but I'm reading it anyway phase.
Right.
So sorry, not to veer back into Lex Luthor again. Wasn't Australian Lex Luthor actually just Lex Luthor cloned?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was him bringing himself back to life.
Okay.
Great artists. Brett Breeding, Tom Grummett, John Bogdanov, Dan Jurgens, Dennis Janke. I mean, some of these are inkers as well. But they're all listed, right? Because they really were a part of the whole creative process. They had everybody that would be in those Superman Summit meetings and whatnot. Everybody was really part of this team. But these are, Saturday morning cartoon comics. Love it,
dude. I love this stuff. This is what I want to go back and reread with a more open mind.
Yeah, and a lot of things. So one of my perhaps future picks, but there's a really good moments at this. I can see where they could do it from the John Byrne Man of Steel stuff.
Yeah,
easily. They collected it, surprisingly, in all those 4 hardcovers, but they could have done 2 Omnis easily.
Yeah.
Exile, immediately after, completes all those stories. And then there's a lot of back-to-back stuff that happens in Superman that are these little 5-part stories or these little trades that introduce the Eradicator and Panic in the Sky, the Red Kryptonite saga. And then time and time again, all of those things happen pretty much back to back to back. And then the death of Superman. It's a pretty good era of comics.
Yeah.
That are fun. They're fun to read. They're very easy, accessible. And the world around Superman, you start to understand why reading weekly has that effect. So this was a weekly book. All those different titles: Man of Steel, Action Comics, Superman, and Adventures of Superman. 7 issues in total, and it was just a fun classic 90s Superman story with Brainiac that I don't. Yeah, he comes in a ship shaped as his head. He has Maxima. Yeah, he has Maxima. It's I think her early appearances where she's a villain and she's formidable.
She just got a mention in the chat, and funnily enough, I was going to pick Maxima as one of my characters.
Yeah, and so I mean, this you could, but this is kind of that 2-for where you get Brainiac, who is he is. This is an early story in the post-crisis times where you're starting to see just what a level of threat he could be. Jeff Johns really explores it in a great way later on, but this is, I think, a classic Brainiac story.
Oh, that's
so cool. If this is collected in any format, It's a ton of fun. You don't have to know a lot of things that are going on. You know Superman, you know Lois Lane, Daily Planet, Metropolis. You're good to go.
Brilliant.
All the superheroes are there. It's just a ton of fun.
That's brilliant. It's funny because I didn't realize how Brainiac was introduced until much
Look
later.
at that ship. Right there.
Oh, so it's kind of based on his form that he took in pre-crisis, right?
Yeah.
I love that look, though. I love that look.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is that there's varieties that she's almost like an Ultron.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, but I think he's better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he's not one track.
It's good. It's good stuff. All right.
Okay.
Number 3.
I'm not going to go into massive depth with this one because I kind of picked the character over the story. Okay. But this happens to be one of the stories that I have liked. I don't know if it stays good. And I know actually there was a lot of fan backlash over this story, but I'm going to pick it anyway because I thought it was fun. So the book I'm selecting is Red Hood and the Outlaws, which is the second series, and the character is Bizarro. So the version of the Outlaws from the Rebirth era was essentially a dark trinity. Red Hood, who's essentially the Batman representative, Bizarro, the Superman, and Artemis. And I think this is Artemis' first appearance in the post-Flashpoint version of DCU. And she's still on a redemption arc. That well, I thought it was really good fun, man. But like the first series, I didn't like it at all. And it was him, Starfire, and Arsenal, I think. But like they collected it as an omnibus. I don't really want it.
I almost got it.
Did you?
It wasn't good.
I don't know. I read a few issues and I just didn't.
I want that one and the Deathstroke, the 20-issue Deathstroke. I like Deathstroke as a character.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of a sucker.
Yeah.
So the Tony Daniels stuff, I don't know if it was good or if it was just bombastic, popcorn. I'm fine.
Don't know.
I'll read it.
Yeah, likewise.
Definitely. I'll just watch Deathstroke fight. I'm good.
I'll take that. Yes, please and thank you. But in this one, though, I mean, you've got Giuseppe Camicoli's art, and I'm a big fan of his art as well. I mean, there are, I think, a couple of different artists actually on this, but I swear, unless he's just on the covers. No,
wasn't he doing Flash at the time?
Dexter Soy's art, actually. I'm totally wrong. He was doing the covers.
Okay. I was going to say, I thought he was doing Flash at the time.
No, that was somebody else, but I can't remember what their name was. I think. Well, I'm not 100%. Because I think he was doing Spider-Man. I thought he was doing Spider-Man at the time, but maybe not. No, it's my mistake. It was Dexter Soy. But it's this formation of this awkward team. And basically Bizarro is the one surviving clone before Lex Luthor turned over a new leaf and joined the Justice League. And he destroyed all of his Bizarro clones. That was the one that survived. And he was saved by a criminal. And basically he's like a super weapon. And Red Hood... I'm doing this from memory. My memory's hazy as hell right now. He goes and finds this weapon, and the weapon is Bizarro. But I've only read the first 6 issues, and I had a great time with it. And I got the second trade, but I didn't want to read it until I had the whole run. So one day. But it's just a really fun book, man. So... a weird recommendation. I love Bizarro, though. I love Bizarro, and I remember seeing a review of a Bizarro-related story on something or other on a book-related shopping website.
Lex Luthor's
Up yours,
shopping
Jeff.
website?
Yeah, that's the one. Lex Luthor. He was selling books to kids. And he was, there was a review and basically said, like, Bizarro sounds like something that was invented as a joke several decades ago and no one's realised yet that it's not funny and they just keep telling it. But I love Bizarro. And I don't know why.
He has a soft spot for a lot of people. And I love Bizarro, too. I can take him in doses because of the backwards speak. After a while, I'm just like, ugh. This is fun for like one issue, but then when it's like 6 issues of Bizarro talking backwards, like, aren't you tired of writing it? Because I'm tired of reading it.
If you think about it even slightly, it makes no sense. It doesn't work.
No.
It really doesn't. So you can't do, you're right, you can't do long stories. But I didn't even like that 2-parter in All-Star Superman. That really annoyed me. And it turned me off to the whole run.
Yeah, that was, I think, a slow point for some.
And I expected a Grant Morrison written Bizarro story to just floor me, and it just annoyed the piss out of me. So I really wanted to like it, but that's just it with some of these characters. You love the character, and you'll find stories based on them, and some will work and some won't. Weirdly, the draw for me for this, the only reason I read it was because of Bizarro, and I liked it a lot. It's a ridiculous.
He was good. He was good in Forever Evil. Actually, it's another good Bizarro appearance.
That's true. Yeah. Forever Evil's good, man.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those New 52 things that people just go, New 52 sucked. And you're like, it didn't. It was Forever Evil was great.
There was a lot of good. Yeah, no, I think it's the reaction, the knee-jerk reaction, the cool thing to say sometimes. And then looking back when you nitpick through, because, 52 titles, like we've said this before.
Yeah.
There's going to be stinkers.
There's going to be stinkers, but there's going to be gems.
Yeah, and there were definitely gems.
I will say as well on the Bizarro front, another favorite that's not a comic is actually Rob Zaro, the character in Teen Titans Go.
Yeah.
So he's like a reverse Robin.
Okay, you're talking Teen Titans Go. I remember in the Superman Tomasi, I think
they do a whole
Rob Zaro as well.
Yeah, they do. And it's a whole it's a proper Bizarro world again.
Yeah.
And then they're like all the villains and all the heroes, and there's like a Lex Luthor Bizarro character. It's nuts, that story arc. I nearly picked that. But this is just quite fun. There's no Superman in it, at least not at this point.
It's so funny. Well, there you go. You want to read a Superman villain? Go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else. Book. Yeah, it happens.
Go to Batman's books.
Yeah.
Stupid Batman. Okay. Hey, you got any announcements? Anything to be on the lookout for other than the OmniverseComics.guide?
Head to the OmniverseComics.guide. Shout about the OmniverseComics.guide. Shout about the Omniverse podcast. Shout about how awesome we are. Shout about other things. There's a spider there now, and it's quite big. So I'm slightly distracted.
Do you need to go and get it?
I
don't let it bite you. Is it radioactive?
I hope so. Maybe I need to let it bite me. Is that a spider?
This is your origin story, Dave.
It could be, and it's happening live.
All you need is a lightning bolt and the spider to be embedded on you.
Yeah.
Right? Look at you're like, yeah, I'm ready.
Bring it.
Spider Flash. Okay. Number 3, it's a Lex Luthor story.
Okay.
But it also is a really good appearance of another major Superman villain. So my Lex Luthor story is also going to include Metallo.
Oh.
And I'm going to go with this big bad boy.
Oh.
Superman, Batman. This is the omnibus. I only have volume 1 because this is where all the good stuff is for me. I read the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
Volume 2 became it started to become like an anthology book, it felt like.
Oh, yeah.
Just people in and out. If you can get these in the trades, they have 12-issue deluxe trades. You could get these in as well.
They didn't finish the trades.
No, they never do.
No.
But the good stuff you can get.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Or there's the absolutes. They absoluted the first 25 issues.
Yes,
that's probably quite hard to get.
But this stuff is a lot of fun. Great entry-level comics. The storyline is Public Enemies. It's during the era where Lex Luthor is the president, and his cabinet includes Clark Kent's best friend, Pete Ross.
Oh, right.
And Amanda Waller is Secretary of Defense.
Oh, my God. I didn't realize that.
Ed McGuinness on the art.
Yes.
There's a threat that is linked to Superman. An asteroid coming in. A huge Kryptonite asteroid coming in.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to do extinction-level event damage. And Luthor says, we have to apprehend Superman. He's just an enemy of the world. In order for this thing he either has to go and fight it for us, or we have to apprehend him because this is linked to him. My memory's choppy.
Okay.
They made also an animated movie about this.
Yes. I've seen some of that.
Yeah, this is a very, popular Superman Batman story. Classic for me. I love it. It helped me when I got back into comics. It was one of those springboards to keep me around, and I became a fan of Jeff Loeb. I don't know if it's fair to say a Jeff Loeb apologist because I know some people don't like a lot of his stuff.
I think his DC stuff is stronger.
I love his DC stuff.
Yeah.
His Batman stuff, his Superman stuff, big fan. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it has all the villains, all the heroes, trying to apprehend Superman and Batman because they're not being brought in. Metallo frames Superman. That's how the story begins. Tries to kill him with a kryptonite bullet, but something occurs where Superman is to blame for it, and him and Batman are on the lam, basically. So it's a ton of fun. Lex Luthor is crazy. He's the president. Amanda Waller is right there with him. And it's it's just bombastic, action-packed comics that you wonder why they didn't make this the Superman and Batman movie, because it would have been so good. But they made it in an animated form. I think they did a good job. But it's a great place to see John Corbin, who is Metallo, used in a really clever way. The guy's got a kryptonite heart. Again, there's a thing with Superman and the Terminator. He's very much stylized after the Terminator, but with a kryptonite heart that'll take out. It powers him. It's his battery. What a perfect villain for Superman, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a twofer again, where you can get Maxima, Brainiac. I'm stealing them all. I'm sorry.
No, do it.
Lex Luthor, Metallo.
Oh.
Metallo's not in all of it. It's mainly a Lex Luthor story, but that's my pick for it.
My understanding is as well that's a good place to start if you want to work your way towards Infinite Crisis. I think
yes, it is.
The initial seeds are sown there.
Yes, it is. It's really, really good. What happened? I'm trying to remember now to jog my memory why they were public enemies all along. What was the event that made Superman have to be on the run? I'm sorry, that's not important.
Should we watch you read it again?
Yes, that's what. Yeah, I'll read it. I'll read it to you. Let me tell you what happened
from the beginning. Here we go.
Okay,
show us the pictures.
You're next, Dave.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to pick a Mongol story that we've talked about a few times, but I'm not going to because we've talked about it a few times, which was the Man Who Has Everything.
Okay. I wasn't sure which one you were referring to.
It's such a good story. It really is. I mean, it's
evergreen.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect it to be. I kind of read it reluctantly because that's when I was starting to kind of wear a bit thin on Alan Moore. But it's great. It's a great story. So it's not that. And I have mentioned Mongol earlier, but I didn't. The story that I mentioned earlier, Mongol's not the draw for me. It's this. It's The Exile, which we did mention earlier. It's specifically.
Love this book.
It's so good, man. It's so good. Well, I mean, so the key issues I'm talking about here are Adventures of Superman 454, Action Comics Annual number 2, which is written by George Perez and drawn by Mike Mignola. Hello. Wow. That's pretty amazing. And also Superman number 32. So it's the end of that Exile story, essentially. There's a lot of fuss at the moment, and rightly so, about the Warworld saga, but this is essentially the original Warworld saga. So
Can't wait to read the Warworld saga.
It's great. I nearly picked that. If you're not sure about how to read the Warworld saga, there is a reading order on the omniversecomics.guide website. Go and check it out. You start with the Golden Age, then hit the Warworld saga, and then it finishes with Kal-El Returns. Those 3 events in a row.
And they're doing a nice collection of it all, which is exciting.
Yeah, nice chunky one. It seemed to disappear for a bit, but it looks like they're definitely releasing it.
Yeah, they definitely need to.
Yeah, but it's just great. I mean, like the reason why Warworld works as a place for Superman to go in it, for it to be a challenge, is that he's not necessarily near Earth's yellow sun. So the more time he spends there, the less powerful he is. And
right.
That's the challenge really for Superman. So this is the thing where we're talking about why some villains work and what the difference is and how they're actually able to oppose Superman. For one thing, you've got Mongol, who is pretty damn powerful. He's a strong guy. He's a big guy. There he is. He's a big fella. And it's funny because sometimes there was a bit of a phase I noticed, and I think it was in the more recent years, when a new writer would jump on Superman and they'd immediately start with Superman just punching Mongol in the streets. And you go like, why is he there? And that bit's over? What happens? Like, he rules his own planet. What's happening here? And it was just weird. It was almost, they do that with Avengers books for a while, where they're just like, we're going to have them facing a giant robot sent by Doctor Doom. And Mongol was being treated in that way. It's like, he's a major threat. And this is the thing with this story, is this is when Superman felt responsible for something that happens in the Invasion crossover in about 1988, I think, 89. And then he essentially exiles himself from Earth. I think that's when he starts to go a bit nuts after killing some villains as well. So there's a few things that built up.
Yeah.
And then he nicks off planet. And while he's away, he ends up in Warworld and he faces Mongol. And that's the thing. Like, that's what's great about it. So even when he's there, he discovers that, 'cause that's the initial part as well of him discovering the Eradicator stuff that all sets the scene for Fortress of Solitude appearing and all this stuff. It's like, this is all really major, nice beats, and they're all really tightly thrown together. And while he's off-world, the other nice thing about this story, while he's off-world, it shows what's happening on Earth without him.
Yeah.
One of them being Mr. Mixapitlik. I can't do it.
Mixias-Pitalik.
Thank you. He comes to Earth for his regular throwdown with Superman to annoy him, and he's not there. So he has to find someone else to annoy. So like it's these are fun comics, and I keep saying that word, but these are fun comics. These are just, don't think about it too much. Just have a great time reading them. That's what they're for. It
would be a keeper.
Yeah.
This omnibus for me would be in my, if someone said you got 10 you can keep, I know that's big because I got some of the best stuff I've ever read here, but it's just so, just makes me feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
And the storytelling was good. The art was good. Like, you've got legends working on these books, on the biggest character.
That's the thing. You know, look at the 4 names on the front: Jerry Ordway, Dan Jurgens, Roger Stern, Kerry Gamble.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. And then you look through the book and George Perez does art in there.
Mignola.
Yeah. No, there's it's a great team of people that were working on Superman at this time. Really good, smart, competent story writers. And some of Roger Stern, it's Roger Stern.
It's Roger Stern.
He just finished, Spider-Man, Avengers, and then this, I think, not too long after that, he was writing Superman.
He was jumping along. I think didn't he join it alongside John Byrne?
Like right at the end of John Byrne's run, he takes over.
Yeah,
and it's it's kind of seamless because they're friends, so it's not like you're getting a completely different flavor that you hadn't been used to. They just carry it on really well. Yeah, it's a great book. I'm so happy that they put it in an omnibus.
I'm so shocked considering how lapsed they've been at releasing this stuff. It felt like it was the promise of, because they did actually release it, saying, if you get this is kind of like the road to Doomsday.
It is.
And then they just didn't carry on going up that road.
The one more omnibus would get you there to Doomsday.
Yeah.
I think
it's one. It might be 2.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
Might be. 1 or 2.
I'd take 2.
And there's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun stories in between that time. Key character stuff. Good pick. I'm happy you picked it. It was on my list. This is very complete. I'm happy.
Cool.
I'm going to go with a classic Superman villain. Makes appearances in the movie. And he's got...
Is it Solar Man?
Power. Yes, it's Nuclear Man.
Oh, Nuclear Man, that was it.
No, I mean, he has appeared in the comics, which was kind of cool once. But it's General Zod.
Yes. What story?
So, okay, the one I'm going with, I'm going to cut to the chase here. Where's my books? Here it is. This is, for some people, controversial. Yeah. For some people, controversial because they didn't really like the direction that they went with it. But for me, I enjoyed it. Superman.
Oh.
It's the last Son of Krypton story. It's Richard Donner and Jeff Johns teaming up with Adam Kubert on art. Again, this was just after Infinite Crisis, or a couple months after. During the, if you've collected or bought the collection of Camelot Falls, this is what's happening in Action Comics.
Oh, I see.
This fills in the gaps. So if you plan to read those issues at the same time, because there's a character that is in Camelot Falls that is the adopted son of Superman and Lois.
Right.
It was taking place at the same time as Batman and Son with Damian. So Superman was given a child, and
Oh.
Batman was given a child at the same time in the
Right.
comics. One was being drawn by Andy Kubert, the other one was being drawn by Adam Kubert.
No way.
Strange. Yeah. So it was obviously before Jonathan Kent or any mention of him, but it was mentioned in these issues, like Superman and Lois can't have children. Like, it's just their DNA won't make it happen. But Superman is now given this kid who's literally got pure Kryptonian blood in him. For a good chunk of time, he is a major character in the Superman stories. He doesn't survive the Flashpoint, but he's from this point on, he's in the books,
right,
in some capacity. And it was a callback to Richard Donner's Superman stuff. Like, they put a version of like a Marlon Brando esque Jor-El.
Right. Yeah.
They have the Fortress of Solitude be all in the Arctic again, very much reminiscent of the Superman Christopher Reeve stuff. Like, a lot of callbacks to that, because I'm sure Jeff Johns was his assistant for a bunch of years, so he's like Richard Donner was his mentor. So of course, if he's going to write a comic alongside him, let's do it just like your movie, right? And I don't think a lot of people like that they kind of went into that nostalgic direction.
I kind of get that to a point. But
me too.
It depends. If it's good, it's good.
I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. So this trade, I don't know if it's still available out there, but I'm sure if you go to bookshops, you'll be able to find a copy of it somewhere. It collects the Last Son of Krypton storyline, which is a General Zod, again, the Phantom Zone coming through. And then right after that, you get into the Brainiac storyline.
Oh, dude.
Which really, it just builds off of what happens in the Last Son of Krypton.
Okay.
Like a direct, because then New Krypton comes out of the Brainiac story.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
There's
so
a Legion superhero story in the middle of there somewhere as well.
Yeah. And that was excellent.
Oh.
That was excellent. Gary Frank.
Yes, Gary Frank.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So, yeah, that's my General Zod pick. There are a couple of other honorable mentions. I've mentioned Birthright before. I didn't want to bring that one up again. And
I accidentally called him General Zoe. What, for Zod, you mean these?
Yeah, for Zod. And the Superman Wonder Woman New 52 series. That was a good General Zod and Ursa versus Superman Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that was good. Funnily enough, I was going to choose a Zod story, but I can't remember it clearly enough, so I didn't end up picking him. But like, I think, to be honest, at this point, if I just recess my hair a little bit more, come, son of Jor-El, kneel before Zod. I need to shave the bits of beard so that
just a little bit, yeah.
Should I get the black shirt with the bits where you can stick your elbows out?
Absolutely.
For aeration. Kneel before Dave. That's I'm going to get that on my t-shirt, but it's going to get me in a lot of trouble and I can't wear it to work.
No. I don't think you should. Kneel before Zod, son of Jor-El.
I love that film.
Me too.
I love that film. Oh.
There you go. There's your
Wrong character, man.
Are we on your number 5?
We're on my number 5. I'm going to get into it, but I'm not going to go into massive detail because 2 reasons. 1, it's a single issue.
Nice.
2, my memory's quite vague. But
can I guess? No, I'm not going to guess.
No, go on, guess.
Manchester Black.
Oh, interesting. No, I haven't read those stories yet. The Elite. Okay. Is that the Elite?
Yeah,
stuff.
The Elite.
I really want to read those stories, but I haven't got there yet. And I think I'm going to love them because they're Joe Kelly up there as well.
Yeah, I think so.
I love Superman. So this is one of my favourite books, even though most of the stories are kind of like they're good. They're not necessarily better than good. Some of them are a bit better than good. This one is particularly good, though. So this is all of the Villains Month one-shots in one book. You can't really tell. I'm going to try and show on camera that it's kind of a lenticular cover. No, it doesn't. Does it do it justice? Oh, look, there's Bizarro.
Not exactly, but yeah.
It doesn't work on camera. I tried to take a video of it recently, and it just doesn't really work. But anyway, it's brilliant. I love it. This is Superman number 23.4, technically Parasite number 1.
Good pick.
So Parasite in this is so brilliantly horrifying to look at. I think this is such a great redesign for the character. I mean, just look at his face.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm saying you could really do something with this character,
Yeah.
I believe.
Well, he does. This was, I think, my second Parasite story. And the first time I was kind of thinking, yeah, okay, I see what you're going for, but this just works. So it's essentially his origin story, but it's really disturbing. It's kind of a horror book. So you kind of find out how he got his powers, why he sticks around, why he's in Metropolis. It's got the creepiest ending, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's just a one-off story, especially an origin story. And a lot of these issues are villain origin stories. Some of them you kind of go, oh, that's how it happened in this new version. Okay, you know, that's good. The art was nice. Okay, I'm happy. This one just takes it up a notch because it's so disturbed. And for a Superman book, you're not necessarily expecting that. So I can't say too much without spoiling it. It is just 22 pages, 20 pages probably even by that point of story. Go check it out. It's great.
Nice.
And it looks so damn pretty for all its disturbing ugliness.
Nice. I'm happy we shouted out Parasite. Yeah, like there's a lot that we're leaving off the table.
Tons.
And we've mentioned, and I cheated and mentioned a couple extra in my picks, but there's tons we're leaving off the table and really some really good stories. And just so everyone listening or watching live understands, we know Doomsday is an option. We just talk about certain books so frequently that we don't want to repeat ourselves with the same stories, right? We know the Mongol story, like whatever happened to the man. We know that one deserves to be at the top of the list, et cetera, et cetera.
We're trying to give people new stuff to read, you know? So we can't always talk about the same stuff.
And we're bouncing around eras to show you if you're in the 2000s, if you're in the 80s, if you're in the 90s, there's something there for everybody. So I think that's when, like, the fight scenes, like, there's so much I'm leaving off the table, right? And it's, you know, it's just going to happen. We could do this again.
We could, and we will.
Yes. My final pick. Oh, man. I'm going to go with the Pete Tomasi Superman run.
Yeah.
Book 1.
Okay.
My pick is the Eradicator.
Nice. I nearly chose this.
This you could get in the omnibus, Superman and Son omnibus. Highly, highly recommend it. Cyborg, like you said, was one of the replacement Supermans. The Eradicator, where it comes from the storyline that you mentioned in Exile, is basically like an artifact of Krypton, like the crystals that Christopher Reeve has in the Superman movies. Those are essentially like the Eradicator is what he is in the Superman comics post-crisis in this Exile story. This sounds like bunch of jargon.
Go with
that
it.
I'm saying. But the reason why I say that is because I was going to pick the origin of the Eradicator, where it takes over basically Superman's mind and makes him full-on Kryptonian. Picking the Eradicator because it's so closely tied to Superman's heritage, and it's such an important artifact that helps him build the Fortress of Solitude, but to the point where it tries to body snatch him and take him over and basically say, well, you are Kryptonian, pure blood Kryptonian, and the Eradicator's job or programming is to continue Kryptonian life and by any means necessary. So something's got to snap Superman out of it. So he's fighting this world mind essentially that is a living, breathing thing in the Fortress of Solitude. But in this story, it's a return to that. And the reason why it's the Eradicator is such a cool character is because he's whatever he is what helped bring Superman back to life.
Yeah.
That Kryptonian technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now he goes, the Eradicator shows up and Superman's got a whole family. He's got Jonathan.
Yeah.
Now Jonathan is of Kryptonian heritage, right? So the stakes are higher. Lois Lane is involved because her baby is now being attacked and, you know, trying to be body snatched in this story, essentially. So it's a great action-packed fight between the Eradicator, Superman, Jonathan. Like, look at this stuff. Come on.
Those pages are gorgeous, dude.
Just so good.
Yeah.
Just so good, right? Jonathan is figuring out his power set, what he can and can't do. And the Eradicator's terrifying.
He is. The design of him is really cool as well.
Great. It's because it looks like there's a nice little shot of Superman and Jonathan. Just great
art, man.
Yeah, it's a super fun story, pun intended. It's modernized, so you don't gotta go back and find where do you find this story anyways. You'll recognize his costume design from the Reign of Superman stories, because that's how he looks with the visor and the cape and the House of El Crest and everything like that. But yeah, Eradicator, terrifying character, much like Cyborg, but more in a petulant, like, you are so annoying. But when you see with what lengths he'll go to, it's very, very terrifying.
Yeah, he's cool in that. They did up the ante with that one. I wasn't sure if I liked it at first, but by the end of the arc, I did really like it.
Yeah, that era of Superman was really strong. I got to say, Rebirth, there's a lot of good stuff in Rebirth.
Yeah, like people you say as well, it's the accessibility of it, because like it's quite hard to follow. Even if you got the Death of Superman, Death and Rebirth, whatever it is, Death and Return of Superman Omnibus, you don't 100% know what's going on with the Eradicator stuff, because it's a callback to quite a number of issues. So from an accessibility point of view, that is a really good arc to go with.
Yeah, this one will help explain exactly what the Eradicator is without all of the bogged down comic book, Adventures of Superman 425. Like, you don't got to do that.
No.
Yeah, I love these that Superman era. Rebirth was great, but there's so much stuff I left on the cutting room floor, but that's okay. Well, I didn't mention Mixiez-Pitalik. I wanted to do a Mixiez-Pitalik story, but
again, it's one of those things where like I haven't noted stuff enough, because there were two characters I wanted to include, and I will mention them without going into detail. One was Ultraman, just because I love whenever he shows up, I love it.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too.
There's a brilliant cover, a Carlos Pacheco cover, where he's fighting Superman on what looks almost like Asgard to me. In my mind, I think I've changed it so it looks like Asgard. Probably doesn't, but it's just the two of them fighting on the cover. I don't even know if he draws the issue as well. But also, Superman Revenge Squad is a bit of a favourite for mine, even if the stories aren't that great and it's very kind of by the numbers. Like, oh, they're all going to team up, but they kind of hate each other and they're going to fight over who's in charge. I like it. It makes me happy.
Yeah, I haven't read that yet, but I have the trade for it.
Do you? What is it? The 90s issues?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. I read them at the weekend. Funnily enough, to include in this, and then I forgot.
No, that's okay. No, there's a lot of stuff that isn't mentioned, or he gets constantly poo-pooed on Superman.
I haven't seen that film. Is that like a specialist Pooper Man?
That one is for adults only, sick adults only.
He's from Planet Krypton.
I just feel he doesn't get it. I mean, he's Superman, right? Like, everyone knows him, but I do feel that there's been a lot of good stories, and a lot of good writers on it that don't get their just due because they're writing, the Boy Scout character, boring, powerful. Give some of these stories a try. I think they're engaging, and the art on a lot of them is good.
Yeah,
very good.
Another fun thing as well, like if you don't, if people do watch this thing and they're kind of like, because we do get some people that don't necessarily want to read the comics, but they're like knowing, which is great. But if you don't want to read the comics, go and watch the Bruce Timm era cartoon. I think he did think that he didn't really bring it to that. Was it Paul Dini and Bruce Timm? That they didn't really bring their A game because they were trying to be too respectful. But I really liked that stuff.
I liked it too. I thought it was, at the time, I didn't love it as much because I was like, Superman's supposed to be like this, and it's supposed to, why did they make him so, like, they kind of depowered him?
Yeah.
But rewatching, they're good stuff.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good.
I like a Superman that doesn't know the full lengths of his power yet, where he's kind of figuring it out and still being careful.
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
It's just good, clean, fun cartoons.
Yeah.
I need a word other than fun. So in the next week, I'm going to look up some words that are replacement for fun, so I can stop.
Delightful.
It's
delightful.
so British.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in and coming on this ride with us as we travel through Superman's Rogues Gallery, which I maintain is top 5 in comic book DC Marvel Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And there's a lot of fun stories, so check them out. Hopefully some of these will pique your interest. Don't forget to check out omniversecomics.guide for reading orders. More to come. Dave's reading the entire comic book universe, and he's going to write about all of them.
Well, you say that. Meat Trunks tonight suggested that you do the Superman reading order. So thanks, dude. I will hand that over.
I should do the Superman reading order because you may never get it if you wait for me to do it.
There is one coming.
Make sure you like and subscribe, whatever platform you're listening, watching on. Twitch, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anything else, and omniversecomics.guide. Up and away.
I say, oh.